A fresh edition of your breakfast on Leadership Television inside Nigeria. Today is January 19, 2025. And of course, my name is Winifred Ubebo, your host on the program. And here's wishing congratulations to Senegal for clinching for the second time the AFCON title. It was a match well played out. It was a mental capacity match yesterday at Morocco. Congratulations once again to Senegal, the second time of winning the AFCON title. Without wasting much time, we head up to our newspaper review corner where we have lineup of papers for review this morning. And of course, topping the review list is Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. We head up to Leadership newspaper. This Monday, Leadership's leading story says London property scandal, NBA committee reacts as federal government charges Ozekhome with forgery. London property scandal, NBA committee reacts as federal government charges Ozekhome with forgery. Comment ICPC chair and his team for their courageous investigation, says NBA anti-graft committee chairman, Professor Badijo. The story continues on page 4 of the paper. Perhaps we should take some excerpts from that leading story. The constitutional rights SAN, Michael Ozekhome, did claim that the London property in question was given to him by later General Jeremiah Husseini, which is under contention. Let's just take some excerpts from that leading story. The Nigerian Bar Association's Anti-Corruption Committee has described the 3-count criminal charge filed against human rights lawyer Chief Mike Ozekhome, SAN, by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, as a welcome development. The chairman of the NBA Anti-Corruption Committee, Professor Babafemi Badejo, who stated this in an exclusive interview, praised the ICPC for filing the charge, which allows the embattled lawyer the opportunity to defend himself. Professor Badejo, however, noted that the ICP's action also gives the senior advocate, Ozekhome, the opportunity to clear his name. He said the ICPC has a formidable task of proving the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. I commend the chairman of ICPC, Musa Adamu Aliu, SAN, and his team for their courageous investigation into issues arising from the now popular Tali Shani London property case. Additionally, ensuring Chief Ozekhome, SAN, receives a fair trial in court is vital as part of a broader effort to enhance the rule of law in Nigeria. This prosecution directly challenges the culture of impunity in such matters. These are excerpts from today's leading story on Leadership newspaper. London property scandal. NBA committee reacts as federal government charges Ozekhome with forgery. We continue with the leading stories on today's edition of Leadership newspaper. 2 suspects, one relative arrested over murder of Kano woman, 6 children. And Senegal overcome VAR drama to clinch AFCON title in thrilling final. Also a leading story on Leadership newspaper. Obaseki Street, elderly women praise Okpebolo over intervention in gully erosion site after 20 years. ACO Group comments Dr. Henrietta Uku on global recognition by Marquis WHO's WHO. Border Committee's Agency 2026 budget sparks transparency concerns. And on the business boss of Leadership, operators decry Securities Commission's new capital requirements. And lastly, on the cover of Leadership, for championing, that is atop the masthead, for championing a new era of tax reform anchored on efficiency, Dr. Zach Adedeji is Public Service Person of the Year 2025. I'll take that again. For championing a new era of tax reform anchored on efficiency, Dr. Zach Adedeji is Public Service Person of the Year 2025. And that is coming from Leadership Media Group. Congratulations to the, and that is formerly known as FROS, now NROS. Congratulations to the executive director, Dr. Zach Adedeji. We still have another business person of the year still gracing the cover for demonstrating that visionary enterprise anchored in integrity and hard work can nourish both people and prosperity. Thomas Etu is business person of the year 2025. Congratulations. The stories, the about data continues on page 7 of Leadership newspaper. From there, we move to page 3 of Leadership, where we have our stand. Today's stand is on political realignment and Nigeria's democratic test. Political realignments and Nigeria's democratic test. Today's stand in Leadership. From today's stand, we move to the pull-out paper in Leadership, and that is national economy. National economy is also under this table, or is a sister publication under Leadership newspaper. Now is now an inside Leadership Monday. National Economy's leading story today says respite for importers as foreign exchange stability reshapes trade decisions after step 4 naira stabilizes near 1,450 naira, easing import volatility. Import reliant sectors including construction, aviation, ICT, pharmaceuticals, parts of manufacturing recording benefits. Sustained forest stability must be backed by structural reforms, coming from analysts. This today's leading story on national economy business newspaper, which is now an insert in Leadership. Respite for importers as foreign exchange stability reshapes trade decisions. After step 4, naira stabilizes near 1,450 naira, easing import volatility. Import-reliant sectors, including construction, aviation, ICT, pharmaceuticals, parts of manufacturing, recording benefits. Sustained forest stability must be backed by structural reforms, coming from analysts. These are kickers to the leading story on national economy. In maritime, from Lagos to Lome, regional ports are performing Nigeria. Cash or compliance, how new tax laws are shaping markets. These are leading story on today's national economy and insights in Leadership. From that national economy review, we move to the back page of Leadership newspaper. On the back page column today is Joshua Ocheja is writing on the goose and the gander. We have the picture or illustration of the NEDC fund, mainly for the reconstructions and redevelopment of the Northeast region. We'll take quote from the Monday column. This article aims to draw the attention of relevant stakeholders to the gap in a de-radicalization strategy. I use the goose and the gander as metaphors to drive home my point because the goose and the gander are correlated, more like an action and is impact. And another quote from the column says, I love the what is good for the goose is good for the gander idiomatic expression. It reminds us that some issues are better addressed holistically. In my view, Operation Safe Corridor is not sufficiently holistic, but it holds the potential to be. This can be achieved when there is a realization that the perpetrators of conflict and the victims of conflict stand on par. Today's quotes from today's column with Joshua Ocheja, the goose and the gander. Like we normally do, we visit Ghana Must Go before we exit the back page. On the news, AFCON, I was anxious. Ghanaian ref on Morocco vs Nigeria semi-final. And Ghana Must Go says, you go explain, Taya. Yes, Ghana Must Go, he has to explain because that officiating was biased, if you ask me. It's on that note we conclude review of Leadership newspaper this morning. For more, log into www.leadership.ng. Moving ahead, we have another paper on our lineup, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard is screaming from Rivers State. It says, I'm still Governor Fubara. Regrets current political crisis in state. You must protect Fubara. INC tells APC. Lawyers threaten lawsuit against Rivers CJ. These are kickers to the leading story. Screaming story exactly on Vanguard this Monday. Rivers crisis, Fubara says, I'm still governor. We have the picture of the returning President Bola Tinubu. Yesterday was welcomed by National Security Advisor Nuri Badu, Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule, and Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila welcoming him yesterday, and that is the same picture we have on Leadership newspaper. ADC to federal government come clean on Nigerian US health part. Murder of 3 officers, NDLEA nabbed drug lord after 12-year manhunt. The story is on page 6 of Vanguard. 52 suspects arrested in Ekpoma for looting, vandalism, IGP. Of course, are those not the 52 students that they said they were sleeping when they were just handpicked by the police, and which NAS, the National Association of Nigerian Students, has been calling for their release. However, coming from the IGP says they were arrested in Ekpoma for looting and vandalism. 62.5% rise in electricity sector debt threatens federal government's 1.2 trillion naira bond. 62.5% rise in electricity sector debt threatens federal government's 1.2 trillion naira bond. Another leading story on the cover of Vanguard this Monday. Federal government bans mining within 10-kilometer radius of bridges nationwide. And atop the masthead of Vanguard, alleged forgery in UK property case. Federal government files criminal charges against Ozekhome. Leading story also on today's Leadership. First Bank's growth driven by resilience discipline. Alebiosu. ACO Group comments Dr. Henrietta Uku on global recognition by Marquis Who's Who. And that's also making the cover on Leadership. It's on that note we conclude review of Vanguard this Monday. For more, log into the website of Vanguard newspaper. We move ahead to the next paper on our lineup, and that is The Punch. The Punch says petrol war, importers outpace Dangote with 62% supply in 2025. Petrol war, importers outpace Dangote with 62% supply in 2025. That means what it means is that the average of it, the remaining part of it was refined by Dangote. If importers could have imported 60% of crude, of refined crude, that is petrol. That means 38% was supplied by Dangote. Federal government report shows high-stakes struggle for Nigeria's petrol market as 15% fuel import duty looms. Still on Punch newspaper, drama as Senegal beat Morocco to claim AFCON title. Every paper is leading with drama. Of course, there was a touch of drama, so much drama yesterday during the finals between Senegal and Morocco. INC protest over Fubara impeachment plot. Motorists talk as multiple collisions ground Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. 2027, my re-election unstoppable, OT test Ojikalu. Beside the masthead of the Punch, APC rules out automatic tickets for defecting governors. And atop the masthead of the Punch, federal government allocates below 1% of 2026 budget to fight poverty. Cash rush, ATM withdrawals jump 198% to 36 trillion naira. And lastly, on the cover of the Punch newspaper, 30 billion naira relief. Oyo cries politics as Makinde faces EFCC petition. And that also brings to a close the review of front headline stories on the Punch newspaper this Monday. For more, log into the website of the Punch. We move ahead to the next paper on our lineup, and that is Daily Sun. Daily Sun says IMF gives recipe for job losses in Nigeria. Insists workers must acquire additional skills, need education reforms, innovation. Leading story on Daily Sun, IMF gives recipe for job losses in Nigeria. CBN exports gains drive $50.67 billion inflow in 1 year. Wanted drug kingpin Kamo arrested 12 years after killing 3 NDLEA officers. Wanted drug kingpin Kamo arrested 12 years after killing 3 NDLEA officials. ADC demands clarification on US-Nigerian health MOU. Police nabbed 3 suspects over alleged murder of woman, 8 others in Kano. Also another leading story, same leading story on leadership newspaper. Lastly, on the cover of Daily Sun, MBET to spend 598.5 billion naira on power reform program. And that concludes review of front headline stories on Daily Sun newspaper. For more, log into the website of Daily Sun. We move ahead to the last paper we have on our lineup for review this Monday, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian says sex new capital rules stir anxiety, stress test portfolio managers. The story continues on page 6 of The Guardian. The Guardian has so many stories on the cover this Monday. We'll take them one after the other. Oyo group decried Nigerians 150,000 sickle cell beds yearly burden. NAF, that is Nigerian Air Force, kills over 40 insurgents, disrupts Borno attacks. Federal government bans mining activities within 10-kilometer radius of bridges nationwide. Pengassan pushes for minimum wage replacement with sectorial CBAs. 2027, North seeks some consensus on security governance issues. Legal hurdles, Assembly silence, deepen Rivers impeachment uncertainty. Eulogies, emotions, farewells at evening of tributes for Alex Tomopoulos. Eulogies, emotions, farewells at evening of tributes for Alex Tomopoulos. And we move to the masthead. Beneath the masthead, NFIU, Nigerians exit from FATF, EU Black Book, a boost for financial system. World Bank, large-scale rural road investments key to Nigeria's food security goal. And lastly, on the Guardian, federal government to inject 30 billion naira in 74 federal varsities as unions urge part execution. And that brings to a close today's review of newspapers, national newspapers, on this segment of Inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Ogbebo. I look forward to having you same time, same station for another fresh edition of your program, Inside Nigeria. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles for news. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.